One of the most common things that entrepreneurs face, burnout. Do we need to be grinding 24/7? Do we need to be, constantly working, not sleeping, all of these things? The answer is no. I'm going to tell you right now how you can prevent entrepreneurial burnout.
This is the Unlock Success Podcast. We're helping entrepreneurs around the world dive deep into the keys you need to shatter excuses, believe in yourself, and help you achieve your highest goals. Here's your host, 8-figure entrepreneur and the living legend of internet marketing, Anthony Morrison.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Anthony Morrison here, and welcome to a new episode of the Unlock Success Podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you and to be able to share a message to you that I think is super, super important: how to prevent burnout. There's so much going on in the world right now. People are so stressed out. There's people, in our daily lives are completely turned upside down, right? And it's so easy to get burned out on your dream, burned out on your business, burned out on your relationship, burned out on almost anything and everything. And I hope that in the next 15 minutes or so, we can give you some guidance, give you some help, some strategies that you can use to hopefully avoid that burnout and, of course, live your best life, because that's what we're all about, right? So here's a pop quiz for you. What do Jimmy Carter, Ulysses S. Grant, Winston Churchill, Dwight Eisenhower, and maybe George Bush all have in common? If you guessed that they all had insanely important jobs and had to make tough decisions every day, you'd be right. But what else do they have in common? Well, I'll tell you, and it might surprise you. They all used painting as a way to unwind, relax, and get their mind off whatever was going on in their crazy world. And maybe they were onto something. Look, in a culture that's so confused on hustling, grinding, 24/7 work till you drop, we could probably learn a lot from the very important and very influential people who saw the need to just slow down, take a break, get their mind off work, and put their focus into something that they actually enjoyed. So maybe being an artist isn't your thing, and maybe you don't even have a hobby. Maybe you don't have a hobby you wish you were doing right now, right? There are still simple things that you can do to make sure you're giving your body and your brain the break that it needs. All right. So when it comes time to work in your business, you can function at this optimal level if you've not burnt yourself out. So how do we do that? Here's some things you can do. Number one, sleep. How many times have you pushed against your biological clock? I want you to think about this. Our body is literally telling us, slow down, take some time off. And we say, no. Seriously, when another entrepreneur tells me that they only sleep 2 hours a day, I don't think, wow, man, they're really grinding, they're really dedicated, they're really awesome. I think, man, how stupid that really is, right? Why? Because ignoring sleep is a surefire way to burn yourself out. Your body needs to rest, okay? It's going to get you whether you let it or not. You see what I'm saying? You've got to get rest. You've got to have a clear mind. I tell people all the time, it's this culture thing that's happened in our world right now. I think social media has caused it, but it's where we think that we got to grind 24/7, and the person grinding 24/7 is doing so much better. They're putting in more work than this person over here that is getting 8 hours of sleep a day. And so it almost is like society is making you feel like you're not good enough, and you're not doing enough, and you're not dedicated enough because you're not grinding every day. But think about this. It's a proven fact. It's just proven that our brains slow down, okay? As we lack sleep, we lack focus. We lack all of the pieces of our brain, all of the sections of our brain, and I won't bore you with all of my anatomy and my neurology and all these things right now, but our brains do not function at an optimal level when they are depleted, okay? And so if you think that the person grinding 24/7 is really outdoing you, you're wrong, because you will probably operate at a sufficiently higher level after 8 hours of sleep than that person is operating at. So even if you only work, let's just say, I'm going to throw this out there, 9 to 5 every day, you may actually do better quality work, get more done, have less mistakes, be more innovative, more creative than the person that's working 14, 15 hours, 16 hours a day, because they're never resting. So their brain is never actually operating at its peak potential. Think about that. Sleep is important. Number 2, you have to eat well. Brain fog is a real thing. Keeping your blood sugar regulated is a real thing. Keeping your gut healthy is a real thing. And look, I don't have any pills to sell you, and I don't have any magic tea. I'm not even going to tell you to stop drinking coffee, right? You can search on YouTube for a variety of experts to tell you exactly what you need to do. I'm just here to tell you, as a fellow entrepreneur and as a CEO of an 8-figure business, what you eat really is important. I even hired a personal trainer this year who helps me plan out my meals because I know how important this is. And if you were to ask me the number one thing I've done to improve my business this year, I would say it's eating better and getting my mind right. Because now I know exactly what time I'm going to eat every day. I don't skip meals because I'm too busy grinding, which is something I did do before. And it's like, again, all throughout the day, I'm operating at peak potential because I'm eating and I don't have brain fog. And listen, when you take time to eat, you're taking time, you should be anyway, taking time away from the work, right? From the very thing that's causing your brain to move extremely fast, right? You're cutting that off and you're focused on your eating, right? Again, this is a way to take these breaks throughout the day from the grind, right? Number 3, exercise. The more you move, the more energy you'll have. It sounds counterintuitive, but we all know it's true. Even just taking a walk to clear your head can be the most important thing that you do in a day. Like I said, you don't need to pick up a new hobby or learn a new instrument or start painting, even though these are all great things. You can still apply these strategies. And it's the strategies of the leaders I talked about in the beginning of this, of this podcast, by simply just taking time out of your day to go on a walk. But exercising is key. If you combine just the first 3 things that we've talked about here, by simply getting enough sleep, giving your body a chance to replenish and refuel, by eating consistently. And I don't mean you have to eat a lot. I'm just saying consistency, right? Don't skip meals because you're too busy grinding, right? And then take time out of your day to exercise. I'm going to tell you right now, as I do this podcast, I'm 23 pounds heavier than I was a short 8 weeks ago, which may seem insane and crazy and almost impossible. And I'll tell you, I probably thought it was impossible myself. But I have implemented these first 3 things like to a T this year. I mean, I sleep more, I eat more. Like I said, I've hired a personal trainer. I have a meal prep. I'm getting food at exactly the same time every day. And then I exercise every day. It doesn't matter what's happening. I shut down work, I stop, and I go work out, right? And my business, just to give you an example, today, my business has already eclipsed the amount of money that we made last year. We've eclipsed in 6 months of this year. Think about that. I'm on pace to do double the revenue this year that I did last year. And a couple of things to point out. Number 1, I'm not grinding like I used to do. And number 2, I truly believe that some of that is because I'm operating at a much more efficient and a much higher level. I'm not operating with burnout because I have forced myself to take this time to sleep, work out, and eat right, okay? The 4th thing, connect with people. Okay, now listen, whether this is with family, friends, coworkers, make sure you're not isolating yourself. Isolation in the workplace can kill creativity, and it prevents you from knowing if your ideas suck or maybe if they're really good. Isolation in your personal life will force you to always be thinking inwardly, right? About your work, yourself, your goals. Make sure you're stepping out of that space when you can and think about the needs of other people in your life. The irony is, your business is going to improve from it. I implemented this in my life this year. my wife and I have been together for a decade now, so 10 years this year. And up until this year, every day of every year, really the importance level in my life has been work and then relationship. I think that's a product maybe of how I grew up. It's a product of the last 12, 15 years of my life. It's probably a product of watching my family lose their everything, life savings, and when my dad was in his 60s, and realizing that, hey, that can happen to anybody at any time. And I think that's what created that grinding culture in my brain, anyway, for the last 15 years, was that work is number one, grind, work as hard as I can, don't take much personal time, and I created a massive amount of burnout, right? So trust me when I tell you, when you hear me saying, here's how to prevent burnout, trust me, I know what burnout is because I've been living it for over a decade. And I'll say, this year I decided I need to stop this burnout. I need to get away from this type of life. I want a better quality of life. So I implemented all the things I told you before, but then I also implemented a shift in how I think about things. I now put my relationship ahead of work. And it's interesting because my relationship is far better than it ever would be if I kept it the other way, right? But by the same token, again, my business is going to double last year's sales. And at some point in your business, you reach levels where doubling every year is just not sustainable. It's not normal. You've grown so much that, if you can do 10% more this year than last year, you're doing really good. I would say that we're kind of at that point. I don't recall, it's been many years since we've doubled our revenue year after year. And so to do that this year is pretty astounding, or to be on pace to do that this year is astounding. And again, doing that while putting my marriage and relationship kind of in front of my business. I believe that it's helped my business because, look, if you choose to put relationships and friendships and personal things in your life, if you choose to carve out time for that, right? Again, what you're doing is you're taking away time from focusing on your business and creating burnout. So while sleep, and hobbies and eating better and exercising, all of those things help your body stay in a state that is, I would say, optimal. They help you to take a little bit of time away from work. When you start focusing on spending time with other people, spending time with your family, your friends, and things like that, not only do you take your mind off of your business, but you put it on to things that you truly love and care about. So you'll spend more time with your spouse and you'll find different things, obviously in conversation and such that excite you, right? That with your spouse, the same thing with your parents or your friends. In other words, not only is your mind off your business, it's fully focused on something else that gives you happiness and joy. And when you do that, you're truly taking a break from work. And that is how you prevent burnout. Listen, I know that the world has been a crazy place for the last 6 months or so, and people are all experiencing some level of burnout, right? Trying to make things work, trying to restart businesses that have been shut down, trying to survive a pandemic, a situation that probably none of us ever thought we would be faced with. And I hope that in this episode of the Unlock Success podcast, I've been able to give you some tips, some strategies that will help you to prevent burnout, and also that you'll trust those strategies, because I would never talk about anything on the podcast here that I'm not implementing in my own business and in my own life. And these particular things that we talked about, these 4 strategies, I've implemented them to a T in my life and in my business this year, and I have seen massive growth in our business while also maintaining a much healthier lifestyle, a much more fulfilling lifestyle, and one that I truly feel like makes me a happier person. And so I hope that that these things will help you do the same. So I appreciate you listening to this episode of the Unlock Success Podcast. I truly hope that we've been able to help you prevent burnout, and I look forward to hearing you, seeing you, and teaching you next time on the Unlock Success Podcast.